that grit, right? They have the grit where they've came in and they've worked their tail off, so they get it.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that, so I think those potential sellers, people that are willing to carry that same work ethic into wholesale will have massive success. But the people who just want that easy button, they're gonna.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com, coming back to you with another video here in Corbin, Kentucky with Mr. Dan Metters. And Dan's been, man, he started with eBay. He did retail arbitrage on Amazon, going to Walmart's, Targets. What other crazy stuff did you do before?
We did private label, ran a retail business, made our website with My Little Pony collectibles. Like, I mean, seriously, we've run the gamut on everything e-commerce. Like, before that, I worked at a business that sold off of its own website, doing $20 million a year in collectible card games. So like, e-commerce has literally been my life since college.
And you know what's crazy though? You mentioned a $20 million business. You've done over $22 million in sales with Wholesale.
Yep.
So he does Wholesale. That's his business model right now. And there's a lot of people who they're selling on eBay, they're thrifting, they're garage selling, they're doing retail arbitrage, they're doing private label, right? We've all heard of it. But something that's been working out with a lot of people who I know, and yourself specifically, is you're making a bunch of money with Wholesale. But people are wondering, they're like, is it still worth starting a wholesale business? Is it growing? Are the fees getting too high? Is there too much competition? Is it really worth starting a wholesale business in 2019? And that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to walk and talk a little bit and kind of cover, I guess, some of the things. So let's talk to the new seller right now. They're selling on eBay, or maybe they're doing retail arbitrage, and they're like, you know what? I want something that's more scalable. I want something I don't have to worry about restrictions being gated off. I want something that the products come to me. I want something where, I could have predictable income, so on and so forth. Is it worth it in 2019? Your honest opinion, or is it way harder?
Absolutely, 100%. I think it is still the best opportunity to get started selling online.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing. There are other models successful, yes. But they have all the same issues, right? Like, you talk about eBay, right? Is eBay more competitive than it was 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Like, retail arbitrage, not only is it more competitive with more sellers, but beyond that, now they have restrictions, they have gating issues, they have so many issues that they have to deal with, right? Like with wholesale, all of those problems are just streamlined, right? Like with gating, for example, I can just go ahead, get invoices, get ungated, continue moving and selling and making money, right? The same thing's true with restrictions. Like, can go ahead, get unrestricted on a product, start carrying that product and making money. That opportunity exists. And here's the thing is, like, most people don't realize, has it got more competitive on Amazon? Absolutely.
On the internet in general, it's become more competitive.
Why? Because people love being their own boss.
But there's more and more people coming on the internet and spending money every single day.
Exactly. And that's what most people aren't thinking about. Is like, has it got more competitive? Yes. Are there more people than have ever existed spending money online? Yes.
Yeah.
Like Amazon, since I've been selling, Amazon has more than doubled. You know what that means? My market share, or my potential people that I'm selling to, has more than doubled. So that in and of itself creates a ton of opportunity, right? Like, having more people to sell to is a huge opportunity. Now, the same thing, like barrier to entry, $2,000 to get started, realistically. And that's not
we just shot a video about that.
Right. That's a real figure that people can get started in a business. Name another business outside of like retail arbitrage and thrifting where that's possible. A pizzeria.
A lot of us eBay sellers and thrifters, like, we have this skewed view of what it's like to start a business.
Yeah, I mean, and it's because of that limited barrier to entry, right? But that same limitation exists in wholesale. Like, it's still very cheap to get started. It's still very easy to get started. It's just, as far as competition goes, look, here's the thing I really think matters, right? How do you win in a market like that? How do you win in a competitive market? Be better than your competition. Be able to provide more value. Be able to do all of those things. And I think that it's more imperative now that when you get started that you have a plan of action, that you understand, what you're going to be doing going forward. But yes, the opportunity absolutely exists for everybody. Like, anybody can get started selling on Amazon and be successful if they're willing to put the work in.
But, there's more people coming out, or there's still products that people can find today, or there's still, and I know you do things a little bit differently.
Sure.
You're not going out and trying to like download lists and, hit up distributors and stuff. You do reverse sourcing.
It's kind of crazy because I think if you're involved in that model, that like distributor, wholesaler model, I think it's very tough.
So that's becoming harder and harder. That version of wholesale.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. It's just a transactional relationship, right? Like I'm just buying product to sell it. I'm not creating a relationship. I'm not creating long-term value.
Yeah.
But the brands that we focus with, it's kind of funny because you said, are there enough products?
Yeah.
Like over the past year, one of the things that we've been doing is actively terminating brands that have that transactional relationship.
Really?
Like if we didn't have a great relationship with them, we've just been terminating them and focusing on the brands where we had an amazing relationship. And what's happened to our profits?
Got it.
Our profits have went up. And that's like, so yeah, I mean, those opportunities are so abundant to the fact that we were getting rid of them to concentrate on our more established lines.
So who are the people that aren't going to be successful with wholesale right now? Who are the people who it really won't be worth starting?
Sure. No, for us, it's like, it's the people that are honestly that are looking for that like get rich quick or that easy button. Like the easy button doesn't exist. I mean, it does. It takes work, and that's why I think like honestly, like the eBay seller mentality.
Yeah.
Like they have that grit, right? They have the grit where they've came in and they've worked their tail off, so they get it.
Yeah.
Like, but I think that, so I think those potential sellers, people that are willing to carry that same work ethic into wholesale will have massive success. But the people who just want that easy button, they're going to struggle.
And you know what's crazy, man? We're in a world now, 2019, with social media, the internet. There's a lot of noise going on. Kind of like right now, we got a train going by. We got all this noise around us. In the business world, it's the same thing. Everyone's distracted. Everyone's got their hand in 50 different cookie jars. And I feel like after talking to you, and I have a couple of friends of mine who are doing 6-7 figures wholesale, they go in at full force.
Right.
They put all their attention into it.
Right. And it's not just about us making money, right? My goal when I sign up a new account is to be the best possible partner I can be. And how do I do that? It's by learning their needs and delivering, right? So if you're willing to do that, you're willing to work hard, you're willing to go in, diagnose, and just be a general boon to the companies that you work with, wholesale's very alive.
Yeah. So I think right now, honestly, because we're getting towards the end of the video, if people want to learn more about this, I think there's a couple things they could do. One, watch the videos we recorded, because we recorded, I think, another 5 or 6 videos before this. So I'll put some links down below, how to source products, the benefits of getting started, wholesale suppliers. We talked about pretty much everything so far today for free. Also, we have a guide, two free guides. Do you want to share with them about that?
No, I mean, that's the thing is, not only is it possible, it's easy to get started, and that's what these guides do. You have the Wholesale Sourcing 101 guide, and what that is the top level view, that 30,000 foot view of everything in our operation, of how we acquire product down to how we're selling product and kind of repeating that process. So that gives you a great overview and helps you understand the model. And then we have that product sourcing checklist. And we did a video where we went through all those little details, right? But this is that checklist, so you can go through and make sure that you're not making a mistake before you place an order. Then your product's actually going to be good and viable. So, those two things I think are the primary thing that stops people is that whole getting started thing, right? And that's what those two PDFs are designed to do. Is they're designed to help people understand not only the ease of getting started, but how to take those active steps to do it.
Hey, so there you guys go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I know we got some trains. You want to pan over and show them? We got trains, man. This is real life right now. But like I was saying before, there's a lot of noise in the real world. There's a lot of noise in the business world, but you got to get it done. You got to fight through it and make it happen. And hopefully you guys found value in this video. So if you did, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit. I'm here in beautiful Miami, and I want to let you know that the 4-day wholesale workshop by my mentors, Dan and Dylan, who have done over $25 million, is now available. It's 100% free, and I just got done with the first workshop. They just released the first workshop, and geez, it was insane. So much value. If you're a reseller, flipping stuff on eBay or Amazon, going to thrift stores, garage sales, you can add wholesale to your mix. You can get products coming directly to you. Now, it's still an amazing opportunity going to thrift stores and garage sales and sourcing items, but how amazing would that be if you could actually have items coming to you? Placing an order, building a relationship, putting a deal together, and then you get these products coming to you on a reoccurring basis, profitable products. That's what this workshop's about. It's free. Check it out. And I want to show you a little clip from Dan and Dylan's workshop right now.
Hey, I'm Dylan Frost.
And I'm Dan Metters.
We've sold over $25 million on Amazon doing something we call reverse sourcing wholesale. This is our free wholesale formula workshop where we are going to walk you through exactly how we did it step by step so you can do it too. And we're not just teaching any ordinary way to sell, but we're teaching our way, our own unique system called reverse sourcing wholesale.
We have tons of success stories from people that have built 6 or 7 figure businesses in under a year using our system, or in some cases, just a few months. In fact, our students have collectively sold over $500 million on Amazon. It wasn't that long ago that we had full-time jobs working 50+ hours a week for someone else who barely appreciated us and paid us even less. We were like most Americans, in debt, stressed, and living paycheck to paycheck. Thankfully today, our lives are very different. That's because we've built a multi-million-dollar company that practically runs itself, giving us the freedom to do whatever we want and run our business from anywhere in the world.
These days, I get up when I wake up, and I go to work when I want. All because one day we made the decision to start selling on Amazon. We stopped daydreaming of the life we wanted and took action. Now we're both able to give our families the lives they deserve. We're truly living the lives of our dreams, and that's all thanks to our reverse sourcing wholesale Amazon business. Amazon has created the biggest money-making and business building opportunity for average, everyday people that our generation has ever seen. A recent survey from FeedVisor found that 1 in 5 Amazon sellers generates at least $1 million in sales per year, and that nearly half of all Amazon sellers generate at least $250,000 in sales each year. These numbers are absolutely staggering, and the reason for them is the insane growth that Amazon has been experiencing. Look at this chart. It shows that Amazon has been growing its revenue 30 to 40% every year, and that isn't slowing down. By 2022, they are expected to be doing almost $400 billion in revenue per year. That means if you start selling now, you can see your business grow as fast as Amazon's has just by existing. I know you're thinking this sounds too good to be true, and sometimes that's what I think too. But here I am, living proof that it is true and that this can really happen. That brings us to the first lesson of this video, and that's the I'll believe it when I see it attitude. That just doesn't work for this business. You have to believe in yourself and believe that you can accomplish great things if they're ever going to happen. So instead, we like to say, you'll see it when you believe it. Nothing communicates that better than the story of who we are, where we come from, and why we are so willing to share all this.
So if you guys enjoyed that little clip from workshop number 1, and this is a 4-day workshop, 100% free. And that was just a tiny clip from a 26-minute video from workshop number 1. That was just to motivate you, get you excited. The value, the nuts and bolts, the real meat and potatoes of the information is following that. So be sure to sign up. I've got a link in my bio on Instagram. I'll also put a link down below if you're watching this on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, wherever. You'll find a link. But go check it out, sign up for it. It's literally only available for a couple of days. They do this 1 time per year, and then after that, it's gone. So if you want to learn about this, the opportunity, check it out. You can add this to eBay, to Wholesale, to Poshmark. The options are unlimited, right? So get after it, make it happen, and I'll see you there. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com, coming back to you with another video. And today, you are in for an amazing treat. We are joined by my friend David Wosick, and David is a Amazon wholesale seller. He's actually doing around $500,000 to $550,000 per month. You heard that correctly, not per year, per month, with his wholesale business. And just last year, he did over $6.1 million in sales. David actually went through the wholesale formula, and he's pretty close friends with them. So he's going to be coming on, sharing his ups and downs, wins and losses, his journey, his story regarding wholesale and kind of how he got started and how he got to where he is today. So I want to introduce David. What's going on? How are you? Thanks for coming.
Hey, how are you? I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic, man. You know, behind the scenes, I heard you were saying what? It's negative 30 degrees right now where you are?
Yeah, we are in the polar Arctic right now in Chicago, so it's freezing to say the least.
Well, man, hopefully you get warmed up during this conversation because we've got some hot and spicy topics that we're going to be diving into today. But let's get right into it, man. Like, let's talk about your story. How exactly did you get started? Because now you're putting up huge numbers, man. Your business has grown tremendously over the years, over 500,000 a month now, wholesale. How the heck did you get started for the people who are watching?
Sure. So I always had like kind of an affliction with buying and selling. I actually went back to school, got a master's degree in e-commerce. So I love just online transactions, everything about them, and these larger channels. At the time was Amazon was selling books. eBay was kind of the front runner, if you will, on some of these opportunities to have a business. And so I came across a kind of a random, I would say almost like a sales sheet on just how to buy and sell. It was just buying stuff and drop shipping out of different locations onto eBay. Actually, I'm sure your audience is aware of how some of these things work. But
oh yeah,
some online arbitrage, basically, I guess is how you'd best say it. But so I started there and didn't really grasp the concept of wholesaling. So I would just, I buy it. And I've always thought of myself as kind of a savvy shopper. Whenever I wanted to buy something, I would never go to a store. I always trying to find a deal, a closeout on that same item, just be very diligent with how I make my purchases. So I really loved the fact of like, hey, if I buy this cheaper, I can go and sell it for a profit somewhere else, where people who just are looking to, they're just regular consumers are just going to go ahead and make a purchase, unaware that there are deals out there, and which is the majority of people, right? So started that, and that was just very small, all virtual. Didn't have any product, just again online arbitrage in its most basic form. And then I began to really get interested in it, and I'm like, I'm seeing some certain products I'm continually buying more and more of, but I'm like, I'm still not buying it at the lowest price. Like this is from some other person who's selling it. So that had me thinking like, well, I got to go back and see if I can find it cheaper than what I'm buying it for. And kind of stumbled on to the concept of wholesaling in that regard. And so with that, I began to contact brands and just say, hey, look, I'm buying this product. If it's available for sale, can you give me a price list? So it was a very, very simple, very, very cut and dry. And lo and behold, I was able to get like an account or two for that. And as we progressed, I was made aware of the wholesale forum, like just because I was starting to learn more in the community, and stumbled across these guys, and the course itself was not available. So I went to the website and it's like, hey, sign up and we'll let you know when the course is available. So I was like, okay, kind of not a big deal. And I signed up and nothing, waited, but still stayed the course with what I was doing. And then I, oddly enough, did not. So there was an event being offered by the folks at the Wholesale Formula. It was more of a VIP, and all the while I was doing what I was doing and slowly growing, but seeing videos, seeing some of the things that they had out there, some of the content, I'm like, these guys are just some dudes from Kentucky. Like, what is going on, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And I didn't bat an eye. I signed up for the event. At that time, it was, hey, come to our warehouse, check things out. It's going to be chock full of information. I'm like, okay, I'm digging this. And also, you get, as part of signing up, you also get the course. So without even going and looking at the course, I was more or less intrigued. I'm like, these guys seem awesome. I like what they offer. I'm all in on this just because I'm doing this myself with literally no knowledge, just kind of learning a little bit as I go. And at that point, I remember my wife and I were literally buying maybe $200 to $400 worth of product, and it would make me anxious because it was like, wow, this is significant, and we're doing packing it, getting ready to go into Amazon. So we're stickering it, doing all this stuff on our kitchen table. And that was kind of, the point where we always reflect upon where we are then to now, right? So went to the this event, and I was hooked. The particular event had two different ways or two different strategies, which is private label or wholesaling. And I remember I was so interested in wholesaling that I just opted out of the private label portion. I'm like, hey guys, is it cool if I just hang in this warehouse with you guys and just try to take in as much as I can? And of course they're like, yeah, man, whatever you want to do. If you want to stick around. And this was a very, this is 10, 20 people at this event. So split, and then between 10 and 10 for each, it was over a course of 3 or 4 days. I'm like, no, I'm just going to hang out here. Thanks. Had no idea, didn't learn about anything on the private label side. So then at that point, I learned so much just by going, obviously, but then it was, okay, well, I really need to ramp things up, and actually go through the course, which again, it's somewhat backwards, right? But again, the content and just the trust I put in just how down to earth, Eric and Dan were, I was just like, these guys, yeah, they're doing it. And I want to do the same. So I remember that, and it's something that I always kind of laugh about, because as you go through the wholesale formula in itself, the course, there's a part where you make calls to vendors and in essence solicit to open up accounts, which is just part of the business, right? And I remember literally going back to my hotel room during breaks to, hey, we're going to meet in 2 hours, let's have lunch. I literally remember going back and applying just what little I learned at that time and making calls in my hotel room, and trying to get accounts and all that stuff. So I was on fire, ready to go. But nonetheless, what ended up happening is went through it and just gained more knowledge, and came home and just continued to do just that. Try to get accounts, what have you, and continue to expand the business to going from a kitchen table to a basement to my nephew who just needed some side hustles, some extra money. I'm like, hey, I'll pay you. That was a very nervous kind of wow, this is intense. All the while, I had a regular job. I was at a executive level in a small company, so I was doing well for myself. So I really wasn't on any sort of a time crunch, but at the same time, I knew I was very entrepreneurial, kind of had that streak. I'm like, I've always wanted to go out on my own. So for me, it was just, I got to put my head down and do whatever I can till I get let's call it salary parity between what I was doing on the wholesale side with my job. And then it was 3 years ago that I left my regular job at the pinnacle of my career, crazy, and jumped into this full time. And that was over in the basement to my first employee to, hey, the basement's getting full, I need more employees. So I've literally having family come in and out of my house until we couldn't do the basement. And I'm like, okay, well, I gotta get a warehouse. And so each milestone is full of anxiety and I can't believe I'm doing this. Can I afford this? That kind of that life cycle. And then went from there to the warehouse, and then more employees to a bigger warehouse. And so on and on and on. To in essence where we are now, which we're fully staffed, and we actually warehouse a whole 9 yards. So it's it's been a wild and fun journey, but yeah, I would not change it for anything, the good or the bad, which, as we all know, as an entrepreneur, it just happens. You have your good days and your bad days, but that's to be expected. So.
What an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular. Now, I would like to ask you, because you were actually taking action and trying things on your own at first. Were you getting results on your own? And what I'm curious to ask is, once you started linking up with the Wholesale Formula guys and you went through their course and you went to that event, did your results start to increase, or did you learn something that kind of changed, or how did that go about?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and that was kind of part of it is, I'm learning stuff on my own. I'm on YouTube. I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out. Like, what is this whole wholesale concept? I understood. Well, I didn't understand at the time that I was doing online arbitrage. Like, I didn't know that was a term, right? I was just kind of like, well, I'm just going to buy stuff and move it here. I understood what drop ship means. Like, so these terms started to become, more in my vernacular. And then once I went to the event, again, not even going through the course, and of course it was much more condensed. It's not going to be as lengthy as a course and as thorough, just because you're talking, you're conversing. It's 3-4 days long, not a huge course. So nonetheless, the community, once you kind of get into the wholesale format in itself, the community is in itself is priceless. So learning a little bit on my own, absolutely, but yeah, there is an immediate ascent into, once you're in the community, once you understand the course, once you understand how much you've been missing and how much you need to learn, in essence, and that's not, of course, a bad thing, is when, for me, it was really kind of a springboard into the next level of, okay, I am a I am a wholesaler, right? This is kind of what I'm defined by, as just this guy who before was just trying to do some side hustle, right? And now it's like, I'm a wholesaler. This is what I do. I'm a buyer, however you want to frame it up. And from there is when it kind of skyrocketed. So yeah, once I immersed myself into kind of this wholesale formula ecosystem, if you will, with both the community of folks I have joined, that door opened, and that for me was where the learning, the knowledge, and just being able to capitalize on what I was doing, I guess unknowingly,
Sure.
start to kind of come together for me. So yeah, absolutely, it was night and day.
Awesome, cool. So a lot of people that are watching right now are selling on eBay. They're doing the online arbitrage, they're drop shipping, but they're looking for a more scalable business model, something that allows them to be able to travel, earn more money, really build a real business instead of kind of like a job. That's one of the downsides kind of like selling on eBay and books and all that, is you kind of just create yourself a job in a sense. What advice would you give people who are looking to get started with wholesale, like during that first year? Like, are there maybe 1 to 3 things that you see like stop most people, like some of the big hurdles, some of the big challenges that really stop people, and they don't get any results with wholesale?
Right. So what I feel is, like with the arbitrage types of businesses, that they're very, I wouldn't say fly by night, because there are quite a few very successful online arbitrage and or retail arbitrage. But I think in one aspect, it's from let's say from a retail standpoint, retail arbitrage it's hours for dollars, right? Like, you really have to go to a store. You have, I like that one, stuff, right? Yeah, so you have to do that. Online arbitrage, you can create let's call it systems in place, but it's very touch and go. So think of like, hey, I'm finding some closeout, and I think closeout's the perfect word. It's like, you find closeouts, right? So you find stuff that is temporary. And for me, I wanted something to be able to stand on, right? So like, I don't want to be able to find one day that I'm blowing it out with, I'm selling these widgets, but I only have 100 of them, and then that well is dry. Now I have to go and hunt and find the next product that's going to help me. So I'm going to have what I feel is almost like so think of it as like, for me, I thought of it as like a sales, right? Like, if you don't sell, you're not making money. If you're working in sales, where I still want more of an idea or ideology of, I can always ascend, no doubt, but at least I want some stability in what I'm doing, right? Like, I want a salary, something I can count on, because we all have responsibilities. So for me, it was like, okay, well, if I do this arbitrage, or if I continue this drop shipping on eBay, I'm not getting the best price, okay? And at the same time, it's so dynamic that one day I can hit a pot of gold, and the next day I'm like, I'm out of this closeout's over. I can't find anything. And I can just reflect like, man, that was an awesome moneymaker, but it's over and done, not to find the next thing. And that takes a toll. It took a toll on me, which is where I'm like, well, I need more of an established model, something where if I buy 100 of a product, I can just call up that particular vendor right back up and say, hey, I need another 100. And like, okay, no problem. The manufacturer would have you. So I think it's just the strength is more in the sourcing of that particular product or what have you, as opposed to just kind of hunting for deals per se. So that's for me was where I'm like, this arbitrage is just, to me, wasn't sustainable in that regard. And again, there are folks out there that are absolutely crushing it. And I'm like, man, do I need to do arbitrage business? So I'm like, nope, stay in your lane. You have so much stability in what you're doing, because it's not, buying it from, Joe's Sporting Goods or what have you. It's established relationships with a particular vendor, as an example, who know you by name, and they're sending you gift cards or what have you during the holidays. It's a relationship that you can go, and that well is alive and well. So, so having said that, that is, I think, one of the bigger takeaways as far as a more stable, which everyone who does side hustle, let's call it, they may or may not like what they're doing, their regular job. That may be the reason why they're doing it, because they want to get out, or they just need some extra money because they have a hobby, they enjoy doing that, which is kind of how it started with me. Wasn't an initial intent. But it was more or less the ability to have something that I can actually work towards, an end goal, if you will, in the wholesaling side of things. So I think, for one, just from a wholesaling specifically with what I'm doing, it's just the stability, as well as just a more scalable, right? You can only search for so much online arbitrage, let's call it, going back to it, because that's what I'm familiar with in the arbitrage world. You can only go to, or even retail arbitrage, you only go to so many Walmarts. But when you talk about a wholesale, it's, you're talking millions upon millions upon millions of manufacturers. So that, for me, was a big takeaway, in that you can scale it. It's scalable. Now you actually have a business, right? And you don't just have we're Walmart buyers and that's what we do and that's our business, which, again, I'm not discounting, because I know some are pretty significant, but I wanted scale. I wanted something to say, hey, here is my business. This is what we do. So yeah, those are probably from a scalability standpoint and a stability, the two S's, let's call it, right? Those for me are probably what really intrigued me or got me kind of interested in, okay, what is this wholesaling about, and where can I learn this? How can I pick this up, and who can I trust?
I wanted to dive a little more into, and I appreciate that response. What really holds people back the most, you would say, though? What do you think holds them back from getting the wholesale business off the ground? Because with retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, it's not a huge barrier to entry, right? I would say wholesale's going to be a much larger, there's more upfront work that you're going to have to do to actually start making that moolah versus just going to a thrift store or a garage sale. So what do you think holds people back the most from landing that first account, making that first $1,000 a month?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when I went, when I was doing arbitrage and went to wholesale, to me, it was just a natural progression, in that, like, I'm making, X dollars, but I'm like, I want to make Y. And so for me, initially, it was the motivation of like, I want to find the closest, the source or what have you. So for me, it was motivational, right? Like, it was the competitive nature in me where I'm like, I don't want to just buy it from Walmart. And, by then it's gone through 4 or 5 different people. It's gone through maybe just, it's gone through Walmart. It's gone through a distributor, perhaps from a distributor to a manufacturer. So it's gone through 3 hands before it's even hit my hand. So by the 4th or 5th hand, when it actually gets into the consumer's hands, I mean, consumers are becoming much more savvy, right? There's stuff out there all day long now where they're like, hey, we need the best deal. We need, the cheapest price, and there's all these different extensions and all this stuff to find the, a better deal wherever it's at. So I feel like the consumer is becoming more and more intelligent in that regard. How that ties back to the barrier to entry or just the challenges. Honestly, I don't disagree with you, but it's not as tough as you would think getting into wholesale. I mean, it's you have to have a few things in place, all things considered. But again, tools that you use for your online arbitrage business, it's the same conceptually, the same thing. You need a few, tools, stuff you can do from home. This isn't anywhere you need to go. So you need some software, basic software, and a phone. So we all have both of those, right? So, or the ability to have both of those. So that is probably from from the standpoint of a barrier to entry. To me, it's minimal when I actually think about and reflect. The biggest challenge to me in going forward is, and I hate to sound cliche with this, but it's just kind of that want, right? That want in finding whatever that better prices. Honestly, like to me, it's all about the source. Like it's basic economics, or the economies of trying to find where that actual product and where it's being sold, and how can I get that through the least amount of hands, that exchange of passing through. So for me, that was that motivation to want to get that lowest sourced product value, what have you. But I think aside from that, I'm very introverted. And I think I mentioned to you, Steve, like I'm an engineer. I've never, I've always in corporate America, I've always sat at my desk, sat in my office, what have you. And any conversation was with other techie software engineers, and it was interdepartmental. And then until the level I was at, where I would have to do like, technology pitches of what our company offers to other vendors or what have you, I wasn't crazy about it. I was extremely, I'm very, like I said, very reclusive and kind of just introverted, like I said. So what changed for me there is, well, I have to do this in my business, and it's that obviously that want, like I want to do this, and I also wanted to learn. I didn't care if I failed, because majority of folks who are getting involved, they probably have a job or they're doing something else, and they have want to create some extra money, and then that extra money turns into something more, ideally, right? Blossoms to something else. So for me, it was like, I have nothing to lose. I'm gonna pick up the phone. I literally hate talking to people, but at the end of the day, it was like, well, if I want to pursue this, because I think there's something here, right? I think there's opportunity here. It's just that, getting over the initial hump of like making a call. It's getting over that hump of, I want to move forward on what I'm doing. And a lot of what kind of the linchpin for me was that I was doing, like I said, arbitrage, which I didn't even know what the heck that was at the time. Only thing I knew was dropship. I'm dropshipping. And at that time I was dropshipping out of Amazon onto eBay. But aside from that, I didn't know anything else. So I'm like, if I was able to do this just for poking around, because I just innately was looking for better deals on something, and it turned out to be something that people are buying, I'm like, dude, I bought this for $30 less. Why didn't you? But then you begin to understand that that's just more the norm than not, right? So I was like, I was able to do all that with literally no training, no education, no community. And going from that into wholesale, I'm kind of like, well, for me, it was, well, if I can do this arbitrage, which is, to your point, of kind of a low barrier to entry, to what I would still consider a very low barrier to entry, in the sense of you don't need to have anything, like there's things I'm good at and there's things I'm bad at, but we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. That's totally normal. To get into wholesale, which is a more stable model and a much more scalable model, I was like, well, why not? Why not give this a shot? Why not see how far I can actually take this? Because I was doing pretty well just without any sort of knowledge or anything, very little time, just literally figuring stuff out myself and tinkering. So for me, that was kind of I just want to try it out. I gotta give this a shot. So that's where it came to, making that call, being on fire, making calls. And I'm like, okay, I want to see how far I can take this. I've got nothing to lose. I literally have nothing to lose.
Do you remember your first deal that you made, like through a phone call?
Yeah, I did. Funny thing is, I remember my first online arbitrage deal and my first call. First online arbitrage deal is to kind of show like it's just part of the game. Like I was actually I was drop shipping. I think they're like, I want to say like fish tanks, which literally the first the person bought it out of eBay. I remember it because my phone for whatever reason had the cha-ching on it. I remember I was in the car with my wife and I heard a cha-ching. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I had no idea. And I literally like glanced at my phone and I'm like, honey, I just sold something on eBay. And at that point on, I'm like, okay, I'm going all in on this. This is so cool. I just sold it. I have no idea how people bought it, but they bought it. And it came like cracked glass everywhere, damaged the guy. So I literally remember having to actually find one. I was trying to be the best at customer service, do all that stuff. So it was an absolute disaster. I literally lost money on that very first because I had to basically buy a whole nother one for him to get him to make right. On the wholesale side, I remember I made my first what do you call it? My first, it's called price list or what have you. My first deal. It was just basically, hey, I'd like to sell your products. And I remember it was very much, okay, well, here's, it was very, very cut and dry. It was just, okay, I'd like to see your products. Who are you? A little bit of information about what you do, what have you. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to send you over an application. And I received the application and basically fill it out, came back, and then they sent me over a price list. And literally to this day, whenever I get price lists, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's just always exciting because it's always intriguing to see kind of where things are at in the marketplace, where they're at. And I got a price list and just, ran through some of the process of, okay, what's good, what's not, using the tools and obviously the course and what it teaches you once you do get a price list and how to properly analyze. I remember making my first purchase and it was a complete, it was a success in the sense that I made the order, but I just remember going through the whole process was very, wasn't intimidating. I wouldn't say that. It was just more or less, okay, well, having to ask questions that I didn't understand. I'm either asking the vendor or just asking the community, the TWF community of like, hey, they're asking for this. What does this mean? And it's just like acronyms and again, more vernacular and like, hey, they want this form. What is this form? So learning all that through this whole exchange of getting what we call a price list. But that was my first, I remember it clearly. It was pretty cool. And at that point I was like, this is awesome. Like I now have the source. I don't have, this is the manufacturer. This is a source. This is what they're selling at. And there's a lot more that goes into that. It could be, you could probably get the first price list, but it could actually, the third one down could be the one that you actually want, right? They've got different price lists for different folks. So again, that's all part of the learning and going through that. But I remember it was a win. And I literally remember exactly. And I wasn't at the hotel because I didn't know what I was doing at the hotel. Like literally I was just bombing on all my calls. I was so nervous. Totally normal stuff. Like I said, just literally not knowing how to talk. Like this is something I've never done before.
It was new.
But I didn't care. I knew I was going to learn it, become better. But I do remember I was at home and it went down and it was super exciting. I had it shipped to my home and the warehouse and all that stuff. And I was off and running. So.
Cool. Awesome. I'd like to ask you if you would mind diving a little deeper into like your strategy for finding products now. Are you pretty much doing your research on Amazon and kind of reverse engineering it. And because we've been talking to quite a few different students of the wholesale formula and wholesale sellers, and it seems like a lot of people, what they're essentially doing is they're pretty much finding hot selling products on Amazon, and then they're contacting these companies, smaller to mid-sized companies, and trying to help them and add value to them, and really come from a place of improving their listing, improving their overall selling to make more sales for them. Do you have a similar strategy, or do you do things a little different?
Yes, we do have a similar strategy. Absolutely. I want to say we're a little more seasoned. That's not what I'm trying to say, but there's definitely different things that we're doing. But again, it's not rocket science. I assure you that it's not like we're doing anything special. But there's just things you figure out in your business, like what you're good at, what you're not good at. That said, yes. So basically, fundamentally, no matter who you are or what you do, you're looking for products that are doing well on Amazon, and you have tools that can help you determine exactly what. And there's a plethora of them. You find out what's working, what's selling, and then there is kind of with that bundled a bunch of different, I would say, analysis that you do to determine that it is worth pursuing, even if it is a good seller. And then from there, you go and hunt down whatever that product is, which is typical, it's fairly easy to do. You got Google, right? And you go and perform a search on, manufacturer A or manufacturer B, whatever it may be, and engage in a conversation, a call, right? And in essence, kind of what I mentioned before, like you're basically saying, hey, I'd like to open up an account, and here's what we do. And then kind of the next tier up is, okay, we don't want to just buy and sell. We want to be able to provide you some value, because for us, this is our business, and we want to give you, like, we feel, and this is something I tell myself and my team all the time, it's a privilege to work with vendors. Like, you look at it as a privilege to say, hey, look, and if you come across as such, that it's a privilege and you're very thankful, regardless of how good or bad the product is, let's call it, that privilege almost always translates into better conversation, right? And just being a little bit more, I guess, almost more gracious. And with that allows you to have better conversation with a particular brand to say, hey, we can also do some of these things with your brand, because we don't want to just be someone that buys and sells your product. We want to be able to, let's call it almost like give back, right? And so we want to offer a little more value than just being someone that is on this kind of cycle of buy, sell, reorder. And that's all you really hear from us. No, we want to actually establish a relationship. And at the same time, we want to be able to provide some value, because we have learned by selling on Amazon, we know that kind of all the different nuances and all the different things that you need to understand as you work on that channel. Just like with any other channel, like you need to know what's good photography on an eBay listing and what you put and what you don't put, right? There's all these different rules and procedures and protocols and tips, free offer, always offering free shipping, right? And then bump up the price, like just basic stuff like that translates to Amazon. And it's not so much more sophisticated. It's a bigger channel. So with bigger channel becomes more things you need to do. Manufacturers, vendors, they don't want to bother with that stuff. They want to manufacture. They want to get their product out. So you're going to come in and say, hey, I want to be able to not only buy and sell, but also I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to help your brand, because there is 100% parity there, because they're like, typically, okay, that's great. Sounds good. But at the same time, if it's better, you're going to be selling more, you're going to be buying more. So there's the kind of the win-win connection, and having that marriage with a particular vendor or manufacturer, knowing that what you're saying is all common sense, but there's an element to needing to hear that, right? So that is kind of the model, if you will, in the sense of not just being able to buy and sell, but also being able to buy and sell and one up the next kind of that next rung on the ladder of, we can also give you some value by doing X, Y, and Z with the listing to make it better, because I know how to, and then now that privilege that you're giving to them, they now feel on the other side and feel like, well, it's a privilege to have this person sell our product. They actually care and they want to do this, and it's going to help us. So why will we say no?
Interesting. It's so cool, David, how there's just so many products on Amazon. There's millions and millions and millions of products on there, and there's new brands and new product lines that are launching. And, I want to give you guys a homework assignment. Just go on to Amazon for a half hour and just start looking at different products. And you're going to see how many listings are just horrible that are actually selling really well with one picture, one line of description, only a couple keywords in the title. So it's not really rocket science to be able to improve some of these listings, especially if you're spending time on Amazon and understand how it works.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's exhausting. It is. There's so much junk out there. And I don't say junk in the sense of quality, but junk in the quality of the actual listings, that there literally isn't enough time in the day. Like if I had the capital to hire like 40 full-time employees, really? 50, like if I had the time to be like, hey, make all these changes to all these listings based on, A, B, C, and D, on what we see as an issue. I mean, it's literally endless. There literally isn't enough. How do I say this? There literally isn't enough money in the world to capture just how nauseating that it is on the opportunity that Amazon is, in the sense of just needing help. People need help, and no one wants to deal with it. No one wants to deal with this stuff. Honestly, they want their hands off. It's that simple. And the biggest takeaway is that you want to be the person that they want to give it to. And that's really what it comes down to. And it's not, again, I am not any sort of a salesperson. I am very introverted. I call it like I see it. And just by being passionate and saying, hey, we want to help your brand. And, oh, by the way, while we're helping your brand, we want to kind of have the distribution of your product, be able to buy and sell and reorder. And that's what kind of keeps the gravy train running. But in the meantime, we want to help you guys. The emails back and forth, the kind of the relationship building there, it is huge. Like from a traveling standpoint, I know you mentioned it, like we travel to cool places, just not only for vacations, but just to go visit vendors, and it's all paid for. A lot of times they pay for it. They want us to come out, or we pay for it, but of course it's all expense. So I've never traveled as much as I have with my team and or my family since this business started, and it's free vacations, man. It's awesome. And there's so much more that goes along with that too, but it's pretty awesome. Cool. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd recommend people, start reaching out, start making some phone calls, regardless if you go through a course or not. Just start getting your feet wet, making some phone calls, talking to some vendors, doing some research. Obviously, inside the Wholesale formula, you're going to get much more information about what you should be saying, how to improve listings,
right.
How to really go through the whole process, get access to the community. But it's just amazing. To kind of end things, because I know we only have a couple minutes left, David, and I appreciate you coming on. What do you see as the future of Wholesale? Do you see Wholesale on Amazon strong over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Is this something that you're going to continue to build, or are you looking to kind of move outside of it?
No, I am all in, absolutely all in, as far as kind of the whole crystal ball. Like any other channel, like any other business, you have to evolve, right? So how I see it is staying the course as far as what we're doing. And I think it's just more of that kind of those sharpening up those value propositions, or what you say you're going to do, and being able to do those things. Now, when I say do those things, it doesn't mean that I'm actually doing them. I'm not doing them. Either someone from my team is doing them, or we have it outsourced, because again, once you immerse yourself in a community, you have hundreds and hundreds of people who have done it, been there, good experiences, bad experiences, stay away. This is awesome. Jump on this. folks that are doing better, just starting off. Like, you have all walks of life, and this isn't just the wholesale community, or this is the wholesale community. But if you just type in wholesale, there's probably a bazillion different groups on Facebook that can help you with this stuff. So, just being able to immerse yourself in that and to learn. But at the end of the day, what we do is such a big part of Amazon's success that it's not like they're going to all of a sudden decide that, no one's going to be able to buy in wholesale. Like, it's commerce. It's not even e-commerce. It's commerce at this point. So that won't change. It's only going to grow and grow as the channel becomes more and more part of or ingrained in people's lives. So you're going to see more products. I don't know what the stat is. It's just some like exhausting amount of products that are added every day. So it's
Millions.
it literally, it's ridiculous. But when it's all said and done, there's no reason to stop, and there's no reason to stop in the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, because again, it's how people, it's only become more and more, like I said, more and more ingrained in people's lives in buying and selling. It's just kind of the way it is. And more people we talk to that maybe don't exist on Amazon, they're like, we need to get on Amazon. And then that's where we have to make the decision of like, well, do we want to help them get on Amazon? Because that's a different animal, right? Mm-hmm. But the realization there, the coming to terms of like, hey, we need to sell on Amazon. Everyone buys on Amazon. Amazon's all over the news, the media, Amazon. So it only makes sense for everyone you talk to say, hey, we need to provide it. We need an Amazon strategy. So even people that don't exist on Amazon want to and will exist on Amazon, just because you've got to evolve or you die.
That's it, man. That's it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. David, you dropped a lot of awesome knowledge. I had so many more questions to ask, but it's like, it was just so, I just wanted to keep you talking, man, because you were just really diving deep into a lot of these different things, and just appreciate you. And just crazy, man. The privilege to be able to talk to somebody who's doing over $500,000 a month now on wholesale, and hearing your little story of the first item you drop shipped and it cracked, and it till now, man. I'm sure your wife and your family is super proud, and it's just crazy. Like, this business model, if you give it your all and you go for it, and you practice and you don't give up, it's just, I can see how it's transformed your life. So I would recommend people to definitely look into it, especially if you're, running out of time, you can't find enough products, you're constantly just hustling, and you're stuck at the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month mark. I mean, wholesale is definitely a great opportunity, and I would recommend that you check it out. If you guys are interested in a mentorship program, Dan and Eric of the Wholesale Formula have opened up their doors from February 21st to the 27th. And that's not just like a marketing pitch. Like, they literally open their doors. They used to open it twice per year. I didn't know if you know, David, but this year they're only opening it one time per year for 1 week.
I know that. Yeah.
And that's it. So what they do is they pretty much open up the doors for a certain period of time. And then when the students come in, they close it. And then they help the students pretty much go through the course, get results, interact. So if you guys are interested in it, check it out. There is a link in the description. Plus, I'm throwing in a little bonus offer, a little $2,000 bonus as an incentive to help you guys on your journey. So be sure to check that out. But David, appreciate you so much. You are amazing. Anytime. Great story. And look forward to hearing more from you and your success.
Absolutely. No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye. All right. That was awesome, man.
In 2012, like this was January of 2012, we went full time. Like, I got fired from my job, and Eric, he decided like he wanted to come along for the ride and just do it. So that's when we really got started. We had done some sales, but until then it was just kind of like a moonlight gig. But once it became our like full-time job, it was, you know, that was what we had to
That was
rely
it,
on.
yeah.
So we had to get out there all the time. In that first year, like we did almost $1 million in sales, I think.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Steve here, Raiken Profit over at RaikenProfit.com. Coming back to you with another video. I'm here in Corbin, Kentucky with my good friend Dan. What's going on, brother?
Not much, brother.
So Dan and I, we've done quite a few videos in the past. I've had them on my channel. And what's really cool is Dan came from the eBay world. He came from the retail arbitrage world. And this was probably, what, 7, 8, 9 years ago? Maybe
wow.
Farther than that?
As far like I started doing eBay in college, and I actually developed a pretty strong little eBay store for video games. Like I carried the, you know, SNES games, NES games, like, and did really well with it. And then eventually I got a job and just didn't have time to keep up with the eBay store. And then I remember how we got started with Amazon. The CFO of our company came in one day and he was talking about how well he was doing with Amazon. And I remember just being so resistant because I remember how much work eBay actually was, like answering questions all the time, packing and shipping orders. Like it was just, you know, it was more than I knew I could handle. Like while I'd done well in the past, it's just like I didn't feel like I had the bandwidth to just do it again. And that's whenever he like told me about FBA and, you know, the fact that Amazon packs and ships your orders and does the vast majority of customer service. And I was like, oh, wow. Because I remembered how profitable and fun it actually was to get out there and buy stuff. And then there was the whole problem of, you know, I just had no idea how to acquire products. And, you know, eventually, after he'd told me about it the first few times, and he finally came in and he gave his actual notice. You know, and this guy was making well over 6 figures.
Wow.
And I remember I was like, what are you doing? Are you like moving or something? And he's like, no, man, I'm just making more money on Amazon now than I do at my actual job. And that's whenever he like really, I started trying to dive in and learn more about it. And he took me out to Walmart, and I remember that first experience, like going through and scanning stuff. And he was like, I ran across that first item, and it was like a Disney car. I think it was Shu Todoroki. Oh wow! The Disney cars, like the Disney cars too. And it was like $3.36 at Walmart at the time. And it was $15 on Amazon. And I was like, no way.
How is this possible, you're thinking?
Right, like no way anybody's actually paying $15 for this little
Doesn't make
Disney
sense,
car.
You think.
And he was like, no, just try it out, man. Just buy a bunch of them. He's like, what are you going to spend, $30, you know, to give it a shot? So we did, and went home, shipped them in. And I swear, like the first day they got received, we probably sold like 8 or 10 of them. And it was just like, oh, wow. You know, it's just that feeling of, wow, this really works.
That's like the aha moment where you're like, I know something that other people don't know.
Right. And then, you know, we went around, me and my business partner, Eric, we ran around for the next probably 6 months just buying and selling stuff off of shelves. And by December, you know, we started with a $600 credit card. And by December, we did $50,000 in December alone. Oh and that was without loans, without anything. Just going out there, beating the streets, finding product every single day on the weekends. Like, you know, every waking hour that I wasn't at work, I was out in a store finding something to sell.
And that's how a lot of the viewers who are watching right now, how their lives go. They're out there sourcing at Goodwills, Savers. They used to go to a lot of Toys R Us till they went under, but Walmart's, Targets. So we know exactly what it's like. We're out there sourcing all the time. We're grinding our ass off.
Oh, yeah. And, I had that same feeling. And then, you know, in 2012, like this was January of 2012, we went full time. Like I got fired from my job, and Eric, he decided like he wanted to come along for the ride and just do it. So that's when we really, really got started. You know, we had done some sales, but until then it was just kind of like a moonlight gig. But once it became our like full-time job, it was, you know, that was what we had to rely on. So we had to get out there all the time. And that first year, like we did almost $1 million in sales. I think we did like 850 or 880.
And that's all retail arbitrage, buying from
100% retail
stores
arbitrage.
And reselling on Amazon.
Oh yeah, and it was crazy. You know, it was just crazy hours, but it was so much fun. Like that whole treasure hunt aspect. And then, like the next year we worked even harder. Like it was crazy. We put in a lot more effort.
The same model.
Yeah, same model, retail arbitrage, and we only did 940,000. But it's like all this extra effort, you know, accumulated into say 70, 80 extra $1,000 in sales. And, we might have made an extra $25,000 between the both of us. And it was just like, gosh almighty. We had that moment where it's just like, you know, every time we quit working, our sales go down. And then if like I physically can't work harder. Like at that point, I physically couldn't work harder. So that was kind of the point where we started looking for other models, and we tried some things that failed. Like I remember we tried to open a retail store, and that failed. We tried to open our own independent website and sell. It was My Little Pony collectibles, and that was because we watched the documentary about bronies, and that one actually didn't do terrible. Like we sold some stuff, developed a little customer base, and sold that property off. I mean, we didn't really make any money, but we kind of learned a lot of just a lot of cool things that we didn't know. And then we tried our hand at private label, and I know a lot of people go that route on Amazon. And for us, like the first product we found probably broke even, like it wasn't really successful. The second product we found was incredibly successful. We probably made $200,000 in profit in about 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So like then it was like, oh wow, it's like, oh wow, this is our model going forward. Next product we launch fails. Next product we launch fails. Next product we launch fails. And after a few of those, it was just like, you lose confidence, right? Like you lose confidence in moving forward. And that was kind of our problem is, we knew it could work, but we didn't know how to make it work consistently. And the problem for us wasn't the selling on Amazon part. Selling on Amazon or eBay is pretty easy and fairly intuitive.
Low
right?
barrier to entry, quick cash.
Exactly. But that was, instead of doing what we were good at, and that's just buying and selling products, we were trying to launch a product, which means you have to be good at marketing. And
building a brand, and you're wearing all the hats.
Right. And these were just skills we didn't have. So, private label wasn't for us. And then we were looking for another model, and we started with Wholesale. And, we started just like everybody else. I remember I was like, there are all these big companies around here doing wholesale, and we should be able to do it too. And I Googled wholesale and distributors and wholesalers and all the things, all those things you search for. And I got me a big list of people, and I called them. And then we got the giant catalogs, and we're sitting there going through the catalogs because some of them don't even have UPCs.
And that's what everyone's doing right now. And a lot of people are saying, oh, I can't get wholesale to work, or I don't think wholesale is for me, because they're all calling distributors and they're all doing the same thing.
Sure. And for what it's worth, it didn't work for me either. Like, we would find an item here and there. Like I remember we found some heaters and did really good with those. We found some Polly Pocket items, did really good. But overall, like the things we were finding just weren't good. And it was, it was like we were 2 steps forward, 1 step backward all the time. It wasn't a real business.
So what did you do?
Wholesale arbitrage. That was like where the rubber met the road for us.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't sustainable in that form. So we next thing we did is we tried to go to a show, and that was a disaster. Like
a trade show.
Yeah, we went to ASD.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were doing, and we placed some bad orders there, and it didn't really work out. And I remember going back to the office, and I was looking at Eric, and I was like, man, like this is so frustrating. Like I know other people do well with this model, and it just doesn't seem to work for us. And I picked up a product on my desk, and I was like, you know what? Like that's the product I want to carry. That's it. I don't want to be digging through catalogs. I don't want to be pilfering through inventories, and I don't want to just be buying stuff and trying to figure out what works. I just want to carry something I know that it works. And it was just like, and Eric looked at me and he was like, let's just call them and see what they say, see where they tell us to buy it.
Was this a huge, like a big brand, or was it a small brand?
Small brand. It was just a small brand of a product that sold well. Like that's the thing is, in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense that it was a small brand because those are the brands that need sellers. Right?
Okay.
So whenever we reached out to them, I was like, yeah, can you tell me where I would purchase this product? Like, we're a retailer and we want to carry your product, but I don't even know where to get it. And they're like, well, we sell direct. Like we are happy to open an account right here on the phone. Our minimum order is $250. And it was just like, that was the aha moment, Steve. Like that's when it happened. It was like, oh, wow. So instead of calling all these distributors and wholesalers and trying to
lists
figure out
that everyone else has.
Exactly. Just trying to figure out what works. Why not start on Amazon with a product that I know is performing well, go find out who makes the produed and set up the account.
Sounds so simple.
Right. But that, this was something that I couldn't find anywhere. Like I had searched how to do wholesale online, couldn't find any information. And I just did that traditional route that everybody else follows. But as soon as we started deviating, like that was 2016, we went from 1.2 to $3.6 million in sales with that one change in strategy.
With wholesale.
With wholesale. We were 100% wholesale.
So you said buy to retail arbitrage, you said buy to private label, you said buy to thrifting, you said buy to eBay, and you took on this new model and you doubled your sales.
Tripled. Like, and you know, it wasn't just that. It was, you know, like the ability to grow was so controllable for us. Is, you know, once we were able to pick up accounts and set up direct relationships, instead of looking at our you know, rises and drops in revenue, it started going up all the time. Like, you just see that slope upwards.
It was predictable.
Exactly.
Wow.
No, I mean, it was. Whenever, you know, that predictable income, that lets you reinvest your profits more effectively. It just lets you grow at a great pace. So that's what happened. Is ultimately 1.2 million turns into 3.6, and then the next year turns into almost 7. Like, it's just a, you know, it's just steady growth. Once you find your groove, once you're able to start developing those types of relationships.
And are you still doing wholesale now?
100%. We don't mess with any other models at this point. Our focus is entirely with wholesale, and that's because, you know, it's we found that niche, right? Like, we found that place where we focus on working with brands and companies that we can actually help. We develop real relationships, and we you know, we don't have turnover on our accounts. Like, it's not like I'm going out and having to find new products every day. Like, the products that we've carried, you know, a lot of them we've carried for 3 years or 4 years at this point.
And we're at Dan's office right now with his team, and you guys have what, like 7-8 people here right now. I just talked to your CFO, and I was asking him. I said, I want to bring some real stats to this video,
Sure.
And he said that you guys have done over $22 million in sales to date right now, and that your profit margins are over 20%, nearly 24% profit margins, which is fantastic. It might have been even higher than that. I'm not sure, but it was over 20% for sure. That's pretty incredible, man.
No, I mean, that's the thing is, you know, before we started with wholesale, and I think one of the things that kept me or had me reluctant to start is I just believed all the myths, right? Like, number one, that you have to have tons of money to get started. We didn't have a $500,000 or a rich uncle.
Everyone says you need like 15, 30, 50,000 to start wholesale.
Right. You know, whenever we got started with about $2,000, and you know, that's what we tell people is, you know, the vast majority of orders that we encounter, if you're working with the right companies, are between $250 and $500. And with a $2,000 budget, that gives you flexibility to place multiple orders. It gives you the flexibility to place larger orders and get discounts. Like, $2,000 is a real, you know, a real amount of money to get started in this business.
So in every business, there's always people who give misinformation, right? The same in
wholesale margins are small.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's like whenever you're talking about our margin, 24%. And bear in mind, with these accounts, like, I'm not having to go find the product. I don't even touch it.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. You know, our staff makes a call once a month and says, hey, we'd like to place an order for this much. Here's how your product performed over the past month. And they'll, you know, share some information. But past that, they ship it to our prep center.
Yeah.
The prep center processes it, sends it to Amazon. And then the next month we have to make a call again.
Yeah, it's been cool hanging out with you and kind of learning how your model works, because there's so much misinformation out there. People say that you need all this money, that you need all this experience, that there's this huge barrier to entry. And I feel like it's almost like people, they know it works, so they try to keep it a secret and they try to like push you away, or maybe they do it a way that's not effective, like trying to reach out to distributors and doing it like there's an old way and now there's a new way to do things. And it seems like you've really found that. And you were telling me behind the scenes, it's called reverse wholesale sourcing.
Reverse sourcing wholesale. And you know, that's our model of finding a product on Amazon, tracking it down to where we can buy it, and then bringing that product, and, you know, just starting to sell that product on Amazon. Like, we're not bringing new products. We're not trying to find a product that might work on Amazon. Like, all the products that we buy have established sales history, and I'm immediately able to tap into that.
Oh, and a matter of fact, this is probably the perfect time. If you guys want to learn like more about the wholesale sourcing method, you have a free guide that you created. It's called Wholesale. I think it's just Wholesale 101 guide.
Yeah.
And you also have a guide that's called Product Sourcing Checklist, 100% free.
Yeah. So these guides,
I'll put a link down below for you guys if you want that.
So the wholesale sourcing guide, what it does is it takes you step by step through our model, just to make it easy to understand. Like, wholesale in and of itself is, conceptually is pretty simple. But I think a lot of people they complicate it, right? They just assume that it can't be this
And there's
easy.
only so much we could cover in this video, so just go through it. It'll explain things much easier for you.
Right. So, you know, that guide'll get you to understand the model. And then we have that product sourcing checklist. And what that is just kind of like the criteria that we use to determine if we're buying a good product. And if you have those things, like, seriously, it's just as simple as, finding a product that works and then selling the product on Amazon. Like there's not very many other steps.
I think that'll help you guys out a lot. I personally have gone through this as well, and it really broke down a lot of misconceptions. And I don't know, I think we all have different ways that we learn. For me, like listening, I only take in so much, but if I actually get like a blog post or like a digital download, and I can go through it nice and, slowly and easily. Yeah, the structure to it. So definitely check that out. I'll put a link down to those down below. Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions in the wholesale business. You don't need a warehouse. You don't need thousands of dollars to get started. You don't have to acquire these lists and go through all these different catalogs and stuff. So it's just been so cool, like having you share this with me.
Sure.
And this is the first video of many videos. We probably have another 6 or 7 videos that are going to be coming. So if you guys want to learn more about product sourcing, wholesale suppliers, finding your first product, why you should get started, we're going to be breaking down so many videos. So definitely stay tuned for that. But to kind of finalize this video, what advice would you give to people out there who want to get started with wholesale? A lot of people that are watching, Dan, they're selling on eBay, they're selling on Amazon, mostly retail arbitrage, thrift stores, garage sales. And, we make good money, but the problem is a lot of us are only making $1,000 to $5,000 a month, and we're out there hustling our butt off all day long. We're having to go to these thrift stores, which are jacking the prices up. There's more competitors that are coming in because of smartphones, and it's just such a low barrier to entry that we're having a hard time scale. We're having a hard time having predictable income on a regular basis. And we're trying to find a way to have products come to us, to scale our business, to be able to make semi-passive income in a sense. And I say semi because there's nothing that's truly 100% passive. And man, I mean, what advice would you give the people who want to start wholesale besides, get the free guides and stay tuned for more videos?
I mean, realistically, that's the best place to start, honestly, is, think about it from this perspective. It's not as complicated as it seems. Like, even in this video.
So break the limiting belief, first of all.
Number one, break that limiting belief and get started. Like, use that product sourcing checklist and just go through Amazon. Just start. You can search. You can start in any category. Think of something. It could be organic diapers or organic diaper
I bet
wipes.
you those sell well.
I guarantee it. And just start there.
Do you sell organic diapers, Dan?
I don't, but
Be
I should.
honest.
I should. I'm sure it's a great market. But just get started there. Look for products that fit those product sourcing guidelines and just think about it from this perspective. Like, if I can find a product, the next step is contact the manufacturer and set up an account. And then it's just selling the product. Like it's, the barrier to entry on this model is so easy that to get started or to even find out if it's possibly a model for you is literally just a few clicks away on your computer. So that's the first advice I would give anybody is, whenever the opportunity came to us, like that was the thing is we just jumped on it and we really tried to trying to get as much mileage out of the model as possible.
Sure.
And that $22 million in sales later, and a business that a business that works for us. Like that's the difference is you can't teach the hustle that these eBay sellers have, and I know this because I grew up.
The drive is real,
right? But there is an easier life out there if they're willing to try it. You just got to be willing to look and start to think about how to set up a business that works for you.
Cool. Hey, Dan, man, this was awesome. And hopefully this video not only motivated and inspired you guys, but educated you and maybe built some awareness around something that you didn't even know existed.
Sure.
So Dan's living proof of that. He's been where you guys are, from selling on eBay to retail arbitrage, to now running a multi-million-dollar Amazon business that doesn't run out of a warehouse. It's all running out of prep centers, and we're going to talk more about that in videos and how he's like running a pretty semi-passive Amazon business. But yeah, stay tuned for more videos, guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a couple favors: like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to get that product sourcing checklist and that wholesale 101 guide, it's 100% free, no strings attached. Go down below. I'll put some links for that. But until next time, we'll send you an email or stay posted on YouTube for more videos, and we'll keep teaching you some cool stuff. So appreciate it, and see you in the next one. Peace.